like the Browns' weapons a little bit more. KC, Boston. Judy had 1,200 yards a year ago, guys. It happens.
Your boy
Harold
Jerry
Fandon.
Jeudy?
My boy, Jerry Judy. I got his sticker on the back of my phone to remind myself when I wake up every day how often I'm drafting Jerry Judy. It's not helping, man. I keep doing it anyway, which is dumb. But Dolphins, sickest wide receiver room in the league. Maybe they could trade for Jerry Judy. Not so sure that would help a ton, but they could use someone else. Browns, I do like Top Monken. We've seen him do some good things.
Do they have a quarterback who can complete a 12-yard pass?
Don't think so.
Pat Mayo Experience.
Thursdays for football on the Pat Mayo Experience. A sub to the channel, smash a like. We're talking about the latest news, mainly wide receiver news, and trying to figure out who are going to be the highest scoring offenses and the lowest scoring offenses. We're going to rank all of these. Myself, Ian Hartitz from fantasylife.com, joining me. Normally, Ian and Jake would be here, but he's like world traveling, but he's only traveling like 2 hours from his house all the time.
Social butterfly. And I thought, Pat, the whole point of having these kind of remote jobs is that you can work on the road, but not Mr. Jake. So hopefully he's still on his A game by the time he gets back.
Yeah, every time I see him, he's on another flight to Chicago, but he's like missing his connections. And he's just circling around O'Hare. It's really bizarre.
The group chat's hilarious because I'm just like, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever. And Jake's like, I got this 45-minute period on this Monday, and then I'm gone for the next 2 weeks. But I hope he's having fun.
I think he will be. I'm actually going to see him in person for the first time in ages. We're both going to Chris Meany's wedding next month. So he's going to be in my neck of the woods. He's not going to know what to do up here.
Oh, hell yeah. I got a wedding in Kentucky this weekend. I've actually now been in Kentucky back-to-back weekends, which, a little bit sad, but that's okay.
Anyway, you're basically a resident of Kentucky now.
It is, man. Like if you've never been to Cincinnati, you don't realize legit how close it is. My first day at PFF, I missed my exit for work and I had to turn around like in Kentucky. Cincinnati really like they don't root for the same sports teams as Columbus and Cleveland. Literally just go to Kentucky. I think we'd all be fine with it.
Yeah, there we go. There's step one. I think we talked about that last time with the Bears potentially moving to Indiana. Just move Cincinnati. You can just have Kentucky engulf Cincinnati. I mean, Ohio would probably be fine with that, I think.
I like to think I speak for Ohio, and I will say I'd be fine with it, Pat.
Do you speak for Rashee Rice? Because he can speak for himself because he's out of jail now. That's good news.
It's been hilarious just writing about the Chiefs and Rashee Rice and being like, yeah, so once Rashee Rice gets out of jail, because that's something actually going on. How lame is this dude, Pat? Like, is there any player in the NFL that we should like be more excited to root against? He's by all accounts a terrible person. He's like the epitome of the Chiefs offense becoming so stale and boring, just all these constant screens. Mahomes not throwing the ball downfield. He has like 11 of his 16 touchdowns have been inside 12 yards. Like we mocked Dallas Goedert for that, but when Rashee Rice does it, it's apparently cool. He's fancy Khalil Shakur. He can't run a real route tree. He doesn't win downfield. He goes to jail. He injures his knee. What's there like here?
Touchdowns?
Score some fantasy points.
Yeah, a lot of receptions, PPR-wise. I think that's looking pretty good.
And look, I drafted Deshaun Watson a lot in 2022, 2023. I'm not trying to be the moral police here. I've drafted bad characters plenty of times before, but you look at him, man. Do we have any faith in this dude not messing up again and getting God knows how big of a suspension? Is he even going to be all that good in a hopefully new Chiefs offense that has had 3 years to look at what they've been trying to force feed the football to him and kind of seeing the results from that? I don't know, man. I got him like wide receiver 23 right now. I'm kind of happy not getting him in drafts, honestly. And accordingly, drafting a lot of Xavier Worthy, reigning wide receiver 56. What can go wrong?
So you think that Worthy will be better than Rice, or do you just think it's a better value?
Better value, less chances of completely messing everything up. And I do think that the Andy Reid quote was talking about, again, this dude dislocating his shoulder on the third play of the season and how much they actively curved back what he was trying to do out there. So end of that 2024 season, Worthy actually came on pretty strong, a la Rice at the end of his rookie season. And he was getting a lot more of those shorter screen sort of targets and stuff. So I do think Worthy, he's someone who they've tried to get going more downfield. I do think he can do some more of that underneath stuff when he's playing with two functioning shoulders. And I don't know if you heard, Pat, but despite still playing in that yellow, no contact jersey, Xavier Worthy, OTA MVP, get the man a trophy.
Yeah, this is like when Cuss brings up the preseason MVP for the Jets every single year, and then that guy is terrible.
I hung my hat on Auden Tate being the Bengals training camp MVP for so many years, Pat, but, we live in, I guess maybe we don't learn in this instance, but you can imagine.
Alec Pierce is going to be out well into training camp with the potential for, maybe even a re-aggravation, a setback at some point. What do you make of this Colts offense in general to kick off the season? Because, do we think that Daniel Jones is going to be back for week one? Because it doesn't seem like he is.
And I don't know, man. I've watched Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, older for sure, but coming back from these Achilles, and yeah, they were ready. But I feel like we had this guy's going to be back for week one. Same thing with Cam Scatterbo and Quinshon Judkins and Daniel Jones. And we just kind of don't even consider the possibility that he could be at less than 100%. We also have, let's face it, 7-year sample Daniel Jones. He's been good in 2 of them. Was really, really good last year. All right. I remember the first 8-9 weeks, the Colts were putting up numbers where we were calling out the 99 Rams as the last offense to be this efficient. But again, even if we're recovering a little bit quicker from that Achilles, the difference between being back on the field and being working at 100%. No Pittman, banged up Pierce. I think they're going to be funneling a lot of targets to, again, Josh Downs and especially Tyler Warren. I've been loving the value getting him at the beginning of round 6 in some of these best ball drafts. But I'm with you, man. Again, we're going to kind of go through and rank some of these offenses here shortly. And I was not afraid to move the Colts really close to 32.
Really close to 32. Where the hell do I have them? I have them in the bottom third right now. I have them in the same range as the Falcons and the Steelers.
Yeah. Okay. I got them 19th right now. So I actually could move them down a little bit lower. I'm sure we'll get into some debates with that. But yeah that's where I think they're going to be.
Yeah, but once you start talking about some of these other teams, let's say the Cardinals, it's they're probably not going to score a ton.
31st. Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm curious to know who your 32nd is. But before we get to that, a few more news updates. Lad McConkey has a hamstring strain. Not sure yet whether it's a grade 1 or a grade 2 strain, but this will affect him into the season in terms of potential re-aggravation. He should play week 1, but does this bump him down at all for you?
I think he had a hamstring injury last August as well. I mean, he didn't miss any games last year, but he did kind of have one injury, calf, bicep, popping up on the practice report after another. So I'm not worried about it right now. It's one of these things, man, when we don't have the official injury reports that we just hear about a couple guys who happen to be banged up. And I don't think we consider it a possibility for everyone. Harold Fannin, someone who hasn't practiced at all, throughout this process, we're just finding out that, who was it that got RJ Harvey had the offseason, labrum surgery because he tore that in the AFC Championship, and we never overly found out, or I guess we didn't pay close enough attention because their season was over at that point. So if it gets into August and we're still worried, okay, but I don't know, man. Even as much as we have, the CMC Achilles scars, was dealing with that injury. For every one of those, I think there's even more of Devon Achane dealing with the calf last year and being perfectly fine because we are still over 3 months away. Actually, we're about 3 months away from playing football. So I'll be more worried if it's still an issue closer to then.
I'm still more worried about these soft tissue injuries than something like a torn labrum that needs surgery, especially for a running back. If it was a receiver and you're going to if Mike Evans had a torn labrum, be oh, that's bad news for his jump ball ability. For a running back, painful. I don't think it's severely affecting how he's going to end up playing. Maybe he'll run fewer routes because of it, because of his arm extension with that injury. But it just, hamstrings seem to recrop. I remember this happening to Alshon Jeffrey one year. I looked at it, I was man, I really don't want to take him. And he started falling and falling. Man, got to take Alshon Jeffrey at this price. And guess what? He was terrible because he kept re-aggravating his hamstring.
But that's what I'm saying. The times where it did go terrible stick out to us in our memory, and we don't remember the freaking 90% of times, guesstimation on my part, where it just ends up being a non-issue. So we'll see what happens with Ladd. I will say, I'm high on this entire Chargers offense. I cannot wait to see where you have them ranked as well. But I've been drafting a lot of Ladd McConkey, but Quentin Johnston to me also been just a screaming value in that wide receiver 4 range. This is, again, a former first rounder, maybe not the best start for a prospect, but he's gotten better each of these 3 years. He's only 2 months older than Ladd McConkey in the first place, and he was a top 24 scoring wide receiver last year. So every time I hear anyone talk about the Chargers, it's always Ladd was doing great until the offensive line fell apart. And it's all right, well, maybe that applies to Quentin Johnston as well, who actually had in-season hamstring and groin injuries, played through them. So a lot to like here with QJ, even more of the coach speak stuff about getting him more, yak-friendly targets like he had at TCU. This dude is, freaking twitchy out there, fantastic athlete, and in a Mike McDaniel offense that can just give him the ball in space. If you're worried about Ladd, man, just start drafting QJ.
You can draft QJ, a more expensive version of this now in a new offense. I just had questions about Jaylen Waddle on Denver and how he's going to be utilized, because if he just simply recreates the route tree of Marvin Mims, which he should be able to do, being a speedster, and then still has that underneath stuff, and now with a quarterback that Bo Nix hasn't always been the best at throwing the deep ball, but he actively throws the deep ball that if you can get yourself underneath of it, all of a sudden it's a different story. Like if you looked up at the end of the year and Jaylen Waddle was wide receiver 6, would you be stunned?
Not necessarily, man. You do watch the guy when he's functioning at full strength. Definitely one of these dudes who we'll see hobble off the field once or twice a game and just have to make sure he gets back out there. But his rookie year, terrible Dolphins offense. He was still like a top 15 wide receiver just based off of a ton of low ADA, RPOs and screens and that stuff. And then Mike McDaniel comes to town and they get Tyreek there. And all of a sudden Waddle is putting up wide receiver 1 numbers as more of a field stretcher. So I'm with you. I think he can do everything in that offense. It's kind of what we've been hoping for Marvin Mims to have, as you pointed out. So the Troy Franklin, Bo Nix deep ball connection, statistically the worst like ever, at least over the past couple of seasons as well. Kind of funny considering they should have had that collegiate chemistry. It's Mason Rudolph, James Washington-esque blast from the past there. But I'm with you. Jaylen Waddle, I think I have him like wide receiver 20, but he's in a tier of guys where if you wanted to rank him as high as like wide receiver 14, wide receiver 15, I wouldn't have a great argument.
He seems like a good target to me to be that breakout player to really top everything else that he's done. I know that he had some pretty good seasons with Tua. It just feels like with Bo Nix, not that he's Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers flicking the ball down the field, but a bit more arm strength than Tua is where I would. Not Aaron Rodgers, not Tua, somewhere in the middle. That's my Bo Nix take.
Hey, I mean, he hit that throw against the Bengals his rookie year where I think it was like the furthest like air yard pass tracked in the NFL. So that dude, maybe he doesn't have the same arm talent as like a Caleb Williams, like on the run, just being able to throw ropes and stuff like that. But give him a clean pocket, man. He can hum it. So Sean Payton, Davis Webb scheme, I think is one that we like. Cortland Sutton, that would be like the one thing, Pat, like my only pushback would be like, what if Cortland Sutton is just still every bit as involved as Waddle, and they're both at 110 targets as opposed to Waddle being at 150. But, they traded for him. Sutton is a little bit longer in the tooth. I think he's going to be 31, by October or something like that. So I see a few concerns with the target share with Sutton. Also, Bo Nix, amazing game against the Packers last December. Amazing throw to Marvin Mims. He had basically outdueled, Josh Allen, difference in defenses, but we've seen the flashes from Bo Nix. You do look at some of the other stats, like 6.5 yards per attempt the last 2 years. A lot of stats tell us he's below average. I do wonder if Bo Nix is more good than great and Sutton even things out a little bit.
Well, if let's say he is more good than great, it feels like an upgrade from what Waddle was just dealing with.
Yeah, and you know what? When Waddle's a low-end wide receiver too, it's not like we have to draft this dude, alongside, the A.J. Browns and Drake Londons of the world anyway. So just, again, bringing up some potential pushback, but I'm with you. I like drafting Jaylen Waddle this year.
And I don't think that the Sutton thing is necessarily bad for Waddle. Waddle was able to excel when Tyreek Hill was still at his peak, and it seems like now that role that Tyreek played in the offense in Miami, obviously the offense isn't going to be the same underneath Sean Payton, but some of those deeper shots, those long mid-range shots over the middle, like you're going to have Sutton on the outside. He's still going to be an end zone presence, but his presence alone means that you just, even if Waddle's wide receiver 1 and Sutton is wide receiver 2, they're probably going to end up playing in a lot of man in that situation, or just not neither one of them is going to demand all the attention from the defense. And I think that helps both of them.
Well, Waddle's going to be the guy where I think they're going to have to circle, in game plan meetings and just always make sure there's a safety shaded over to his side of the field. Because, look, Sutton can go up there and win your 50-50 ball, but cornerbacks aren't worried about him, running past him or anything like that. Waddle, it's a completely different story. So I remember doing a study back in like 2018 or something. It was like the Deshaun Jackson impact. And I was just kind of looking at quarterback, like on-off splits with D-Jax, and just everyone that he played with was wound up being a lot, over the course of his career. Much more yards per attempt when D-Jax was on the field relative to the off. And I do think there is something to the idea where when you have that lethal field stretching option, it forces defenses to play off, and the Cortland just opens up everything in the intermediate areas of the field. So no, adding Waddle from this offense, man, it's like basketball. I think there's so many great stats with there, but like that gravity kind of impact, like Steph Curry, just all the defenses just flowing to him on the 3-point line. I think Waddle can have that similar impact that, as you mentioned, Tyreek Hill had in Miami.
Sadder headline: Rashee Rice resumes practice getting out of jail, or Chris Olave is off blood thinners.
I'm going to go with Rashee Rice, but it's good to hear Olave is apparently going to be back by the end of this month and ahead of schedule. So him and Jordan Tyson, man, over under 15 trips to injury, 10th this year?
Well, it just as long as Olave. I mean, listen, it looks weird when Romeo Doubs is wearing the Great Gazoo helmet, but you gotta stick that on Chris Olave at this point. Every time he gets hit, I just assume he's going to be out.
I think there's a weird narrative about the Guardian caps. I saw Arif Hassan, he does the Wide Left newsletter. He actually talked about this a little bit. There's, to my knowledge, there's not been any meaningful like scientific studies other than the company that actually makes these things that have been put out with it. And I even saw Sam Schwartzstein. He does the NFL Prime Next Gen stats like feed, which is amazing. He also helped do the rules for the XFL a couple years ago. He said that he didn't really like them because it actually adds like more weight to your head. And so it's like you can actually make the argument that, your head's flowing like harder and faster than it should be. Similar sentiment with boxers, wearing the actual headgear where it's actually more so to prevent scratches and things like that. You can make the case that, again, that additional weight on your head when you're, again, having another force come into it actually makes things worse. By the way, not a doctor, but just some things I've read.
So what you're saying is that the Guardian Cap research team is like the old school cigarette research team?
I think
yeah, they're good for you. Don't worry about that.
Also, Devon Achane used to wear one, and then when he stopped wearing it, they were like, how come you stopped? And he was just like, I didn't like the look. So remember, Pat, look good, feel good, play good. And if you're not looking good, that's tough.
Last wide receiver note, Jaylen Coker re-signs with Carolina for 3 years and $35 million. This solidifies his spot as, he was the number 2, but you never know what's going to, it feels like the outside of Ted McMillan that this Carolina offense tends to be in flux even week to week. Like, hey, we're going to run a bunch of Leggett this week. And I saw that Bryce Young had to have a meeting with Leggett to figure out what's going on. But where do you put Coker? Like, what level is he at as a wide receiver too? He's not Devonta Smith to AJ Brown, although those two don't play together anymore. He's not TJ Hushmanzada to Chad Ochocinco. Like, how good is he as a number 2?
I have him ranked, I think, like wide receiver 55, which, when you go through it, more of a solid average wide receiver too. I love the Cokeheads meme. I love the gimmick. It's fantastic. But, come on. He's Jaylen Coker. He's been efficient with his opportunities. Like, that would be the case, all right? You look back these last 2 seasons, minimum 100 targets. The only 5 guys averaging double-digit yards per target: Alec Pierce, Christian Watson, Jameson Williams, Jaden Reed, and, yes, Mr. Jaylen Coker as well. So he's made the most of his opportunities. Only going into year 3, obviously been battling some injuries as well, but it's a little bit tough to tell, I would say, with Bryce Young under center. This is a guy who continuously battles to get over 3,000 passing yards for the season. So it's one of those where it's like, well, is it Bryce or his receivers not quite good enough? But hey, down the stretch, man, especially that Rams playoff game, Coker making a lot of good plays. But I think if we were going and just ranking like every number 2 wide receiver in the league, maybe we'll do that another day. Probably like 17th or 18th.
I know that Michael Pittman is probably a better player, but if we're talking about fantasy scoring and just putting up points, is Coker in a better position in Carolina than Pittman and or DK, depending on how you feel about who's the 1 and who's the 2 in Pittsburgh?
I don't think so. Pittman's constantly been a wide receiver too, except for 2024 when he was playing through a literal broken back, like Mike Tyson's spinal. And then 2025, like he was top 20 and then a literal grandpa came under center. So could be Pittman over Metcalf. I think you can make the argument more intermediate, shorter throws could fit in the Aaron Rodgers wheelhouse a little bit more. So I would give the edge to the Steelers guys just because like either one of them could be the guy in the passing game. And even if not, it's going to be mostly condensed. Carolina, like we could look up at the end of the year and it's Tedderell McMillan, 160 targets, Coker, 85. And we'd be like, oh yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and don't worry, Ian Thomas will get his like 23 if he's still. I haven't even looked at their depth chart. I
He's
assume
not even
he's
on
still
the
on
Panthers.
the team, but no, not Ian Thomas. Tommy Tremble.
Tommy Tremble.
Ian Thomas is with
Sanders
Vegas,
too.
I think still.
There you go. Good pull.
Third string tight ends. It's too early in the year because these guys are going to get cut. I don't want to put in all the research on the third string tight ends and be like, oh man, these guys switch teams 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks during the preseason, these guys are just swapping around. When we return, we're going to get to the highest scoring and the lowest scoring offenses in the NFL. So smash the like and stay tuned. The weather here, it's great. And we've been actually spending time outdoors again. Before, the backyard, basically a patch of grass, maybe some mud, and a place that the kids just run through. Now it's somewhere we actually hang out. We grabbed a few outdoor pieces from Wayfair, completely changed the space. The best purchase? Easily the patio seating set. It's one of those things that you don't realize you're missing until you got it. Now we're eating outside, having coffee for breakfast outside, and actually using the backyard every single day. And if you've never shopped with Wayfair before, I'd tell you it's the easiest place to start because that'd be true. Whether you're looking for outdoor seating, grills, patio decor, lighting, storage, it's basically a one-stop shop for getting your outdoor space ready for summer. Plus, with over 20 million 5-star reviews, you can see what real customers think before you buy. Patio season is here, and these deals won't last long. Head to wayfair.com/m/outdoor right now to get your outdoor space ready for way less. That's WAYFAIR.com. You know what's annoying? Thinking you got your finances lined up, then some random thing pops up and throws everything off. That's why I've been checking out Cash App. It's not just for sending money anymore. Cash App does more than you think when it comes to having your back and making sure your money stays your money. Cash App just released a new status program for the way people actually spend called Cash App Green. Now, when you spend at least $500 a month with a Cash App card, you earn green status, which unlocks benefits like up to $200 of free overdraft coverage. If you overdraft unexpectedly, there are no hidden fees. You also unlock higher borrowing limits and custom personalized cashback offers every Friday at places you love to shop. Turn everyday spending into status with Cash App Green. Download Cash App today or visit cash.app to learn more about this and other financial benefits. New Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use code CASHAPP10 in their profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank. Member FDIC. Cash App Visa debit flex cards issued by Sutton Bank. Member FDIC. And the Bancorp Bank N.A. Pursuant to a license from Visa USA Inc. See terms and conditions for the Sutton prepaid card, Sutton debit flex card, and Bancorp debit flex card. Cash App Green features savings, direct deposit, roundups, overdraft coverage, and discounts provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. The Travelers Championship. Now is the time. This is the place. Every star, every round, every shot that makes your heart race as legends walk the fairways. Keegan Bradley, Scotty Scheffler, Tommy Fleetwood, Justin Rose, Cameron Young, Xander Schauffele, Colin Morikawa, and other PGA Tour greats, all battling to be called champion. See the world's best for all 4 days. No cut! You'll feel the pressure before the shot, the roar when it drops. You'll stand close enough to see it all, the intensity, the focus, the moment when everything comes down to mere inches, and where everything makes you feel part of the moment. It's golf at its best, up close, open to all, and only here. The excitement starts June 24th and runs through June 28th at TPC River Highlands in Cromwell, Connecticut. For tickets and information, visit travelerschampionship.com. Now is the time. This is the place. Let's talk about something no one in endurance sports likes to admit. You can be training your ass off, cardio, stress, not recovering properly, and yeah, it can mess with your performance everywhere, because it all comes back to blood flow. Most guys jump straight to pills. That's just treating the symptom. The real key is nitric oxide. That's what controls circulation, endurance, and yeah, performance. That's why Joy Mode actually makes sense. It's a natural booster that supports nitric oxide production, not the fake pixie dust stuff. Just tear open a packet, mix it like an electrolyte drink, and you are good to go. Use it when you need it, or use it daily to raise your baseline. Think of it like training. One dose helps, consistency changes everything. If you want to support sexual performance the same way you support training and recovery, naturally and intelligently, Joy Mode has a deal for my listeners. Go to tryjoymode.com/Mayo or enter Mayo at checkout for 20% off. Joy Mode, the electrolyte packet for your dick. All right, let's figure out who's going to score the most points. I'm guessing we both have the same number one. Last year, in case you were wondering, the Rams scored 518 points. The Patriots were second. The Seahawks were third. Then you had the Bills, the Cowboys, Lions, Jags, Colts, Bears. The Bears didn't score over 450, but everyone else on that list did. And if you go to the bottom of those offenses, you got the Raiders at 241, the Jets at 271, the Browns at 279, which actually, replaying their season in my head, kind of still seems shocking they scored that many points. The Titans, the Giants, and then the Saints. Although there was like a clear bottom four. The Titans, Browns, Jets, very bad. Raiders, exceptionally bad. And then everyone else was kind of trending a bit upwards, 30 or 40 points separate like the next 10 teams. So there was a big gap at the top, a huge gap at the bottom. Then everyone else in between was various degrees of pretty good to pretty bad. And most of them were right about average. So do you want to start at the top or the bottom with this?
We can start. I say we start at the top real quick though, because I did run back, look at 2016 and 2025 to see how often like top 10 scoring offenses repeat. On average, it's only a little bit over 4 per season. And in fact, from 2024 to 2025, only the Bills and Lions, those are the only 2 offenses that were top 10 in 2024 and also 2025. So there's a little bit more continuity among the bottom 10 units. That's about 5.4 repeat per year. But yeah, man. So most of the teams that kind of rise up into it, a lot of quarterback injuries in there, coaching changes. Another thing, you look at the Bears and the Jaguars getting Ben Johnson and Liam Cohen last year. But man, Seahawks, Rams, Cowboys, Jaguars, Bears, and Patriots were all 18th or worse in 2024. And they got in the top 10 in 2025. So I have one team in like the top 10 that was like 20th or worse last year, but we should keep that in mind, Pat, where not going to look the same.
All right. So my top 2 are probably the same as your top 2. I went Rams and Bills.
You are correct. I'm with you.
All right. But what do we have at number 3? I think is the interesting part. I put the Ravens, then the Lions, and then the Bengals. Well, 3, 4, 5.
I got the Bengals, healthy Burrow. They finished 7th, 6th. Then I got the Lions, 4 straight years in the top 5. I got the Cowboys. I have the Ravens, 11th, man.
Really?
What's your pitch there?
Oh, Lamar healthy. Then they score points. Defense not as good as it once was. Actually have to score.
I think that defense is going to be nasty. They started turning it on late. Now they got Jesse Minter. I think they got the dudes over there. We got Declan Doyle, who's never really called plays. He was just hopefully stole, Ben Johnson's playbook when he was chilling in Chicago. We'll see what happens. I like Zay Flowers. Derrick Henry's old. Mark Andrews looks washed. Lamar was very banged up. I saw a cool next gen stats when I was trying to quantify this, where like his speed before the hamstring injury compared to after was like a 4 mile per hour difference. We could see it with our own eyes as well, not to get too nerdy, but just with this, it's so much faith in Lamar. This offensive line, they lost Linderbaum. They continue to be underpaid. There is so much on Lamar's shoulders to be the gravity force in the run game and also just avoid all these sacks. And he has one pass catcher that puts any level of fear in opposing defenses. I'm 11th. That's what they were last year. I don't think they're going to be horrible. If Lamar puts his Superman cape on, they probably will be top 5. But I got some other teams I like more.
I think it just depends on injury. Like I could kind of, I don't want to make the same case for the Bengals because I like obviously I had the Bengals rated inside my top 5, but if Burrow gets hurt again, which he enjoys to do, they're not going to be inside the top 5.
No, I hear you. I just look at the Bengals and we got Chase Higgins. Chase Brown's been a productive running back. I wouldn't rank him like it's a top 10 real life unit. And even the offensive line finally making some actual strides and I think giving them a better chance. So, we can get the Ravens up there. I'm probably a little low, but I would definitely say I think Bengals and Lions deserve to be ahead of them. And then like Cowboys versus Ravens is a close one for me.
So I had the Cowboys next, then the Seahawks, then the Chargers as the next 3 teams on my list.
Ooh, I like the Chargers.
You're all about the Chargers. I figured you'd have them ahead of me.
I got the Chargers 6th. Again, 20th last year. New OC hire. Slater all getting healthy. Believe in Justin Herbert, added some extra speed, Mitchell, Thompson stuff. I'm with you there. It is weird, man, because the Seahawks were 3rd last year. But how? Just JSN, literally just JSN. We don't have the running backs. The offensive line, I still don't think people would say is like a top 10 unit or anything like that. We lose Kubiak. The track record of these guys just underneath say, just keep the same thing going. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I feel like if that was true, man, we would see a lot more guys like, Tanner Engstrand going to the Jets last year. Why didn't he just run the Lions plays there? Probably just didn't have the Lions players. So, they got Rashid Shaheed. We've got 2 straight years of Sam Darnold, doing his thing. But I can see the Seahawks just being a little more average. I think when you actually go through and rank their position groups, like we all love JSM, but after that, who's like elite on this offense?
I suppose that's true. They play in a division where I guess it depends on how you feel the Cardinals and 49ers are going to do. And they're going to end up playing the first place schedule this time around. But even against the Rams, like no matter how good the Rams defense is or the Seahawks defense is, those games are just going to be like 42-40.
Yeah, and that's the thing, even without Devontae Adams there down the stretch, Stafford's still putting up big numbers on them. So number 3 offense last year. It's not like we haven't seen him do it, but, we'll see how Jadarian Price does coming out. Like, is George Halani going to take the first snap of the season for the Seahawks, at running back? I know we like to say running backs don't matter, but the run game wasn't all that great last year. It's an extra year of, film that they can see with Darnold and JSN. Like, if JSN just goes from being like clear-cut the best number 1 receiver in the league to just like really great and has, 1,300 yards or something, I don't know. I think there'll be a more average offense.
I do have them scoring 25 fewer points than last year and coming in 8th overall instead of 3rd overall. So I do have them taking a step back, just not a significant one.
Yeah, again, 18th is probably a little bit low, but I don't know. You got teams like the Commanders where it's like, all right, we got healthy Jaden Daniels.
But the Commanders, the Commanders are exactly like the Ravens in a way that if Jaden Daniels is healthy, they're going to score a ton of points. If he gets banged up at all, they're not.
Yeah, no, I get it. So I'm mostly going through this saying like, all right, let's assume people are healthy, but where do you have the 49ers? Because that's one where, yeah, I'd like to assume they're healthy, but good God, like, is that even a fair assumption to make? It's the oldest roster in the NFL. We all know the Evans, CMC, Kittle history, but then we got Shanahan and Purdy.
So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I had them at 18.
What? The Niners?
The Niners, yeah.
I have them 7th.
So when I ran everything, I looked at the range of outcomes. So I actually ran a model with this with 1,000 simulations on it. Maybe I should have done 10,000. Who knows?
Whoa.
But the range of outcomes was just so wide because of the age of a lot of these players that if you just start chipping away at them a little bit and just take what McCaffrey did and what Evans did when he was healthy last year and assume a little bit of drop-off, assume a drop-off from George Kittle actively trying to get back from an Achilles tear for week 1. An older offensive line. It's not like they're injecting youth into this offense that, yeah, I think that there's games where they're going to run train on some opponents. Sure. It's just, I think you're going to see them get stuck in the mud a lot. And if they start losing a piece on the offensive line, or they lose Mike Evans for 2 games, or they lose McCaffrey for 3 games, I just feel like their offense could seem really disjointed, which sucks because I think this is a really fun fantasy team. I think it's a really fun real life team, but I'm also trying to be somewhat realistic with my expectations for them.
I think the argument against that, though, would be CMC really wasn't an efficient rusher at all last season, like sub 4 yards per carry. Kittle did get injured. And he got injured right away, too, and missed a bunch of time. Obviously, Ayuk wasn't in the picture. Ricky Pearsall was on and off the field. Like, we have Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne still finding a way to put up some pretty good numbers there. So I do think at quarterback and play caller, like you couldn't really ask for much more. Call Brock Purdy a system quarterback if you want, but he's been a part of the best system like in NFL history, passing wise. Yards per attempt, passer rating, he's number 1 quarterback in the Super Bowl era. So again, a lot of that goes to Shanny and some of the weapons, but they have those. So yes, a little bit flimsy if they get injured, but 18th just feels low. If you want to go more like 12 or 13, I could meet you in the middle.
So I have them right around the Falcons, the Jags, the Eagles, the Packers.
The Jags.
Like yeah, the Jags.
Jags
do you have
10th.
them higher?
Yeah.
How much higher?
I got them 10th. Here's my top 10. Rams, Bills, Bengals, Lions, Cowboys. Those are my locked-in powerhouse offenses. Next tier, these guys should be really, really good. Chargers, Niners, Patriots, Bears, Jags, Ravens, Eagles. That's my top 12.
Okay, I had the Chiefs higher than that. So I had Rams, Bills, Ravens, Lions, Bengals, top 5. Cowboys, Seahawks, Chargers, Broncos, Patriots, 9 and 10. And then there's like a little mini gap to the Bears, Chiefs, Commanders, Bucks, Packers, Eagles, Jags, Falcons, 49ers, and then the Saints.
Why low on the Jags? I feel like they're pretty similar to the Bears where we saw, Caleb and T-Law take some nice step forward. We believe in Cohen. We believe in Ben Johnson. Jaguars probably even have just a deeper overall set of, skill position weapons. They're 4 deep, wide receiver. We'll see what happens with Tootin and everything. Strange isn't Colson Loveland, but I think there's a lot there.
There's a lot there, and they were able to, it felt like they played over their skis a little bit at points last year, and I was a notorious, anti-Jags guy that really bit me in the ass a season ago. Maybe I should change my tune, but I just watched them, they feel like everything, they do string together long drives, but it's not like they're always putting out positive plays. It's kind of the same thing with the Bears. It's just, I think that Caleb Williams is more on an ascension than Trevor Lawrence is. I think we may have saw the best of Trevor Lawrence last year. That's maybe as good as he can play.
Yeah, that's the argument. I do think it's funny with looking at someone like T-Law versus, say, Baker Mayfield, where Baker, fantastic, 2024, led the NFL in passing touchdowns, I believe, and just goes off, has a bunch of skill position weapons, has Liam Cohen. And then he drops off, and we're like, oh, that's who Baker always was. Well, you look at Trevor Lawrence. Last year, he has this great year with Liam Cohen, with a bunch of good skill position players. And then in 2024, it was just like, oh, yeah, he had none of those guys. So what was he? Kind of like Baker in 2025. So I do think in my heart of hearts that Lawrence is a really freaking good quarterback talent. There's a reason why he went number one way back then. There's a reason why many have stuck by him through the thick and thin, and still only 25 or 26 years old. So I got the Bears ahead of the Jags. I'm with you on Caleb over T-Law, but it's just a really good, man, like offensive-minded head coach with the ascending quarterback. We've seen the talent level, and I like the weapons too.
It's kind of how I feel about the Packers in a weird way, that I can't get a great gauge in how high or low I want to put them. That, maybe Golden takes a bit of a leap in year two because they're not going to ask him to be doing a ton. Kraft looks like he's going to potentially be on track for week one. Watson ends up signing the huge extension. You get Reed extended. That it feels like their offense is a bit more not in flux anymore. It feels a bit more solid than it did in the past, where it's like, oh, there's Dontavian Wicks. Like maybe he can get behind the defense. They're just running out so many different combinations in these different sets that sometimes it's better like, hey, we have three pretty good guys. Let's get them on the field as much as possible.
Maybe Marshawn Lloyd is even going to be healthy. I don't know.
He already got hurt, didn't he?
I think they're just managed him for a practice. He's been out there. So look, LaFleur, 4 top 12 offenses in 7 seasons. I will say that, like, I like the wide receiver room. Watson, Reed, Golden, okay. I don't know if we'd rank every wide receiver room in the league. Is that finishing top 16? Probably around average. Tucker Kraft, very good. He was awesome last year. One of the most fun tight ends to watch with the football. Coming off that knee injury, maybe he's 80% of himself. Offensive line is rough, man. Like, that is the one big problem. They even lost some other guys from that group. Like, we've seen, I think Josh Jacobs is a really good running back, but like, it's been a freaking battle for him to actually even average 4 yards per carry behind that group. So I have him 13th. I trust LaFleur. I do think Jordan Love is really good, but yeah, I'm with you, man. I have them in this tier where it's just like, I'm a little hesitant, but maybe I shouldn't be. So I got them with the Broncos, Chiefs, Commanders, Vikings, Seahawks, because I think there is, like, the offensive line is the red flag for me with the Packers. If I felt good about that, I'd be fine putting them in the top 10, but we see these games, man. Last 2 Super Bowls, winning that battle in the trenches, man, can be the be all end all.
You said the Vikings as a part of that. I found them a very difficult team to rank. I actually put them behind the Saints, and I feel like that could be wildly wrong in either direction. We're just going to assume that Kyler is starting for the Vikings, right?
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So, look, we've seen KOC get a full season of Kirk Cousins in 2022. They're the 8th ranked scoring offense. He got the full season of Sam Darnold in 2024, 9th ranked offense. Now, Darnold and Cousins have had higher heights than Kyler Murray. Not a short joke, but it's just, how they've been playing. So, I would like to think that Kyler can see the best of him brought out from KOC, but that was the worst version of Kyler we've ever seen in 2025. It's not a given that he's going to be any better. Obviously saw what happened with J.J. McCarthy last year. So, yeah, 17th for me. I could see him finishing top 10. It's probably a little steep. Like you said, you have the Saints there. I get that. Colts are another team where we've just seen it a little bit more recently. So, 17th.
I kept the Colts behind the Vikings. I had the Colts. Like, I went Vikings, Colts, Steelers, and Cardinals are in that mix too. Like, maybe they have playmakers. They have talent that can score, but I just don't trust these teams whatsoever.
I have Steelers 27th, man. Like, we got a 43-year-old quarterback by the end of the year. Mike McCarthy, that's who we're putting our chip on at this point. So,
well, I have them at 24. Like, we're down here now.
Gotcha. All right. Fair enough.
the Texans, could the Texans have a good offense this year? I say no, but again, I'm wrong all the time.
I have them 20th. That even feels a little bit high. Like, even the good year with Stroud in 2023, they were only 13th. It's just the O-line issue once again. And all right, they got some guys behind Nico Collins, but it's mostly a one-man show in the passing game. And, Dave Montgomery, I don't think he's a bad running back. I also wouldn't say he's exactly a needle mover. So, Texans could be down there a little bit. I do think, when you look at the Seahawks, again, I think a big reason why their offense could be so successful was because of how dominant their defense was, just constantly helping them out there as well. So that would be the thing with the Texans. I think their defense is too good, to let their offense be this bottom 5 unit.
Potentially, but it feels like there's a difference between the difference last year, and some of it, obviously, most of it was probably O-line, but it could be a mentality from the team as well. And I always like to bring golf into this, but you have your aggressive players in golf and you have your passive players in golf. And your passive players are going to do well in a week like the US Open, where being aggressive just is going to lead to triple bogeys. And that's what it feels like the Texans offense does, that they have this kind of we have an amazing defense. The directive of the offense is don't fuck this up. Don't turn the ball over. Don't take a lot of huge chances. Like maybe we'll take a deep shot or two. Whereas the Seahawks felt like they're like, hey, we're in fifth gear. Like we went to first to second to fifth, and we are just piling on anytime we get an opportunity because we trust our defense so much that even if we screw it up, they're going to get it back, and eventually that we're going to hit. And it worked out perfectly for them last season. But it just seems like a different mentality in Houston where they're playing for the lead. Like if a guy was winning a golf tournament by 3 strokes, he's like, you know what? I'm not going to hit driver. I'm just going to hit 5 wood off the tee to make sure I get it in the fairway. That's how it feels like they run their offense.
Yeah, and I think that's partly, well, they both have defensive-minded head coaches, so that would not quite work out there. But I got the Seahawks 2 spots ahead. I see what you're saying. I do believe in Stroud. Maybe that's just the Buckeye going through my, blood and all that shit. So I do think Stroud can be better. He took a nice step forward after the down 2024. I remember the AFC divisional round, guys. That was one of the worst performances we've seen in a minute there from a quarterback in the playoffs. But we've seen playoff meltdowns before. Justin Herbert did something similar not too long ago as well. So I do think, though, he's only 24 years old, man. Like, we should expect more growing pains from these quarterbacks who actually come out into the draft at 20 and 21. That's why Caleb Williams is someone I continue to be high on. Not everyone gets to have 6 years of college before they play like Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix.
Where'd you have the Commanders? Like sandwiched in between who and who? The Chiefs and someone?
16th in between the Chiefs and the Vikings. It's just so much of this is on Jaden Daniels' back. And maybe he does put the Superman cape on and everything, but like, we're bringing in David Blau, who's been on the staff. Like he was the assistant to the quarterback coach. Maybe we see Brandon Ayuk work his way over there. Sounds like they're maybe finally getting tired of each other in San Fran. Just show up to practice, Ayuk. Force their hands already, all right? But it's like, who knows what we have with Brandon Ayuk anymore? And then it's like Chigakonkwo and Rashad White. Like those are the new Jimmies and Joes we added. Like, Pat, every single clip I see of a Commanders OTA is like Jaden Daniels throwing to the ball to someone who's going to be like an answer to name a random wide receiver question in 10 years. Van Jefferson is getting run right now. Treylon Burks, the fantasy community, us nerds and virgins have given up on Treylon Burks. The actual Washington Commanders football team has not. Like, what are we doing?
It's Terry McLaurin and then a bunch of guys that will be available on your waiver wire. That's who the other skill position players are. But it's a lot like Baltimore with Lamar, is that so much of the offense can be generated by one guy and what he does, that if all of a sudden he's just healthy, then they're going to be really good.
Yeah, Daniels, incredible rookie season. Lamar has had two actual MVPs, could have even had, a third one thrown in there. So I'm not going to quite put him up there yet. He was banged up throughout a lot of last season, and so was Terry. But man, every single pass efficiency stat dropped off in a major way. He still did okay in fantasy because he's going to run around. And as we know in fantasy football, if you have a quarterback that runs, he'll still put up numbers even when he's not great in real life. But like Marcus Mariota had that offense moving better than Jaylen Daniels last year. So again, maybe David Blau has all the answers. All right. He was a magician back in the day. He's got some tricks up his sleeve and everything. But this is a situation where, like, all right, go around the league, rank every team's like skill position players, wide receiver room, running backs, and tight ends. I'll probably put the Dolphins last. The Commanders, though, are right in contention for 31, man. Maybe the Giants, maybe the Panthers. This is a really, really bad supporting cast. It's all on Daniels' back. And hey, if there's ever a guy where we should be worried about playing the position safely and like not taking big hits and actually staying healthy, I mean, Daniels really has not earned that benefit of the doubt either.
No, and of course his efficiency was going to go down. He had one of the more efficient seasons ever in that offense. Yeah. They were kind of like the Colts from last year, that the first 12 weeks of the season, I think they went a 5-game stretch where they didn't punt.
The Colts did, yeah. It was unbelievable.
Well, but so did Washington the year before that.
And that's the other thing. It's like Cliff Kingsbury being heralded for everything he did in that offense the first year. And the second year, they fall off a little bit, but they had all the injuries. And now it's like, oh, well, he was actually the problem. And now David Blau is going to come in and fix everything. So I do generally like the idea of, the Sean Mannion's and David Blau's, like the backup quarterback who made their way to the NFL, with their smarts and not these physical tools. Like, it makes sense to me, but they're also first-time play callers, and we just have no idea what we're getting. And I just think we tend to assume that every new play caller is going to help fix, what was going on the previous year. So a lot of question marks, and that's why, I threw him at 16, just kind of right in the middle of everything.
So you don't think that Mr. Blau is going to unlock Jalen Lane or Luke McCaffrey?
That's what I'm saying, dude. Look at this wide receiver room.
Well, okay, so Dolphins, Commanders, who would be next?
The skill position challenge.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the list here.
Giants, if you have the healthy neighbors, you're giving them the benefit of the doubt, but that's in question.
I mean, the Texans outside of Nico, is Tank Dell ever going to come back?
He's walking around. I don't think they're like unleashing him just yet, but he's
Well,
tentatively expecting to be back.
Walking.
Texans are down there.
That arrow pointing up. He can walk again. That's great. He doesn't have to have his
again.
motorized wheelchair on the field. That's positive news.
Chiefs got Walker, but that's like, where do you have the Chiefs? I have them 15.
I had the Chiefs at 13.
Last 3 years, they've been 15th, 15th, and 21st, doing a little bit better before Mahomes obviously got injured at the end. It's just like I was writing out their team preview the other day, and I was like, oh, you guys really didn't change anything in this passing game other than adding Kenneth Walker. And I like Kenneth Walker, but come on, man. Eric Bieniemy, that's what we're putting our hope in now.
It feels like the defense got worse, which could presumably lead to more scoring potential for the Chiefs. That's the route that I took because I had their defense rated out as kind of crappy.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Spags kind of running the ship, like he can make a bad defense at least average, but yeah, so much turnover in that secondary. Then again, that's kind of their MO at this point. You know, they get these corners on rookie contracts, they play really well, and they go ahead and trade them for first round picks. So seems to be, working. They actually brought back Snead, obviously failed with the Titans. They can maybe, get things going. Mansour Delane's number 6 overall pick. So I think the defense will be okay. I will say the Chiefs, like their fall off was mostly, I think, just due to that annoying one-score game regression. They went from 11-0 to I think 1-9 or 1-10 last season. Like the 6-11 Chiefs actually had a better point differential than the 11-6 Chargers. So they were obviously not as good as recent years, but they weren't quite as bad as that record says.
So they were a difficult one for me to rank. We've already talked through the Jags and the Vikings and 49ers. Eagles and Falcons were two other ones that I just couldn't wrap my mind around. I could see how the Falcons are a top 5 offense. I can easily see how they're like a bottom 10 offense.
How do you see top 5 with Tua and Penix?
You have Tua, and Tua kind of recaptures the mojo that he had 3 years ago by hitting open guys who are fast and letting Bijan do the rest.
The mojo Tua had was freaking Tyreek Hill being the best wide receiver on the planet there.
And now he might have the best running back on the planet right now standing behind him, which unlocks a lot of doors. And Drake London's good. He's very good.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Kyle Pitts actually looked like a really good tight end last year. And that's another thing. Had the knee injury going on after his second year. So makes sense there as well.
So like, I have so many. So let me lay out this scenario that Tua not as bad as maybe the perception is, or maybe he is, and then they're awful. But Penix wasn't good. And Kirk Cousins has been like 20% of Kirk Cousins since he tore his Achilles.
Man, I just look at Tua at this point. When he was winning, he was very accurate. He was getting the ball out immediately, willing to throw over the middle of the field, had Waddle and Tyreek to get the ball to. These past couple of years, though, obviously had the devastating hip injury in college. Like he's never been that great of a mover, but he's as stationary as they come in there. And he's starting to just make terrible decisions with the football as well. Like if you don't have the arm talent to scare defenses really downfield, you don't have any sort of mobility, and you're also making bad decisions. Like I just really struggle to see how he kind of comes back from that. You mentioned Penix and all this, man. If we had like a legit offensive mind coming in here and really fixing things, okay, but Kevin Stefanski is getting a lot of benefit of doubt for someone who's led the 32nd and 31st ranked scoring offenses these last 2 years. Like watching Joe Flacco go
hold Kevin Stefanski to that. Like, come on, look at who they've had.
How does Joe Flacco go from unwatchable in Cleveland to like actually putting up numbers in Cincinnati?
But he was the year before that. He resurrected Joe Flacco's career.
Amari Cooper did. Nah, that was cool with Flacco. That's a good point, but man. The Falcons, that's who we're going to trust. I feel like Stefanski should have taken a year off and like gone. No one wanted this job, man. No one.
No, I have them at 20 in the ranking.
20,
so it's not like
23.
I think that they're going to be something. But I can see a path to them. Fast turf. And then Tua just works as a distributor. Like he's just a pass first point guard. Like he's not trying to call his own number. He's just running the plays in front of him. Stefanski is smart enough to know what his limitations are. And frankly, I think we'll see a ton of Penix, honestly.
London's really good, but this is another team where you start getting into the other wide receivers. And it's like, good God, what are we doing? Jahan Dotson, they brought back Olamide Zaccheaus. Zachariah Branch, I think, has been a little bit unfairly criticized for, all the screens and RPOs. I think that was just Georgia's offense really being, a disgrace to the game of football, more so than a complete, implication on Branch's skill set. So maybe he can give him some juice. Obviously love Bijan. But I would say this, what's the difference between the Falcons and the Raiders? All right. We have two blue chips. I got you. Bijan and Drake London are awesome, but the Raiders got Bowers and Gentry.
Well, I had the Raiders. Let's see here. I have the Raiders out of that bottom class this year because I had them projected for over 400 points. So I only had
26.
The Falcons 15 points ahead of the Raiders. So I had them pretty close.
Okay. I got the Falcons 23rd in the same tier as the Raiders 26th. I got the Panthers, Jets, Steelers, and Giants in that same tier. Tier is just at least we have a stud or two.
You're buying the Jets.
Going from 29th to 25th. So that's buying. Okay.
That is buying. I think you can construct a case where the Jets offense is actually pretty good as long as the offensive line holds up. That I don't think that it would have to be Geno's not as washed as he looked last year, that maybe the Raiders were just a black hole of offense a year ago and that no one was going to succeed, especially when Bowers got hurt at the end of week 1 and sucked for 10 weeks after that. Then what else did they have?
Nothing. I mean, Jacoby was there and then he got traded. The Trey Tucker 40-point fantasy game, that was just one blown coverage after another. And then it's just when you fire your offensive coordinator before the end of November, we have Pete Carroll's kid coaching the offensive line. So many issues going on. So yeah, if Geno could just be, last year with the Seahawks, so the first year or two, man, he was really putting up the sort of numbers that all these, ball knowers ranking him as a top 10 quarterback, not even getting back to top 10 heights. But if he can go from 32 to 22, we got the pair of stud early round tackles. We got Breece Hall, paid now, should be feeling good. Garrett Wilson, A.D. Mitchell, and obviously Omar Cooper. There are worse wide receiver rooms in the league. I would even say, 5 or 10 that are worse than that. Kenyon Sadiq out as well. So again, I think the personnel is actually good. And then you just kind of look at the logo and you're like, they'll probably mess it up.
Do you think that the Giants or Jets score more points this year?
I'm going with the Jets. Matt Nagy in New York. I just don't trust it. And then that's another one, man. I hope Neighbors is healthy because if not, we're doing the Darius Slayton thing again. We got Malachi Fields, your favorite draft analyst, least favorite wide receiver, Darnell Mooney. And there and that's another one, man. I just feel like Harbaugh, maybe he's getting a little bit too much benefit there. He's like a culture guy. To bring in Matt Nagy, I don't know if the X's and O's are going to be there for him.
Yeah, I can see this going very poor because everyone was kind of on the Giants. They've jumped off the Giants a little bit in terms of being a sleeper team this year. They do have a really easy schedule, which is very valuable.
Yeah. I like Jackson Dart too. I really think Dart versus Cam Ward redraft, it's a conversation at a minimum. I think there's a lot of things that you could honestly lean towards with Dart. Neither guy had much of anything to throw to last season. Both guys were flashing every single week with some of the off-script stuff. Ward probably a little bit more raw arm talent, but I think Dart, just the results were so much better last year. That's the thing with Cam Ward. I see the highlights. I put them together myself. I see the bull case for Cam Ward, but every quarterback, even Bryce Young, even the worst quarterbacks in the league, you can put together a good 2-minute clip of it. So you got to try to balance all right, I've seen them do good things because they're a top 30 quarterback in the world. They are going to do good things. But it's every single stat and number I care about is also telling me that relative to the other quarterbacks are some of the worst out there. So seeing Dart actually have some quality numbers on top of some of the off-script stuff in an offense that was a joke and you had Dable leaving, mid-season, Jackson Dart, the way the Giants rise up is just Jackson Dart is really freaking good, which I think is possible.
Who do you think is healthier this year, Jackson Dart or Jaden Daniels?
I'll say Dart. He's got a little more. Daniels is so freaking frail, man.
Yeah, but listen, he gets hit and his elbow pops out or his shoulder gets separated. Jackson Dart simply leads with his head and gets knocked out.
That's what I was saying. So at least maybe Dart can just learn how to slide. Quit hanging out with Scaramouche so much, bro.
We talked about this with Josh every year going into the Bills season. It's well, Josh Allen's going to slide more. He's not going to run as much, but his default setting is to do what he does. I think Dart is wired exactly the same way.
I get it, man. He even had that one run like early on, first start against the Chargers, where he's like freaking throwing a stiff arm. I thought he was going to break his hand on the safety's helmet. So needs to fix that. But the stat was always like the amount of trips to the blue medical tent. He usually cleared it.
Maybe that's the whole key. Like if you pass yourself off, like you're not quite there all the time, that they really can't tell the difference.
When I was in high school, you had to take a thing called the impact test. Like before the season, it was like your baseline concussion test. So if you did get concussed, you'd have to answer the same questions. And I had the bright idea to like purposely flunk my test when I was not concussed. And I thought I could just have that, kind of like the Peter Griffin, like get your driver's license picture when you're actually hammered. So then if you're driving drunk, it'll be like, oh, look at me. But they actually instead came out and they were like, Ian, you are massively concussed right now, apparently. Can you retake this test? And it didn't exactly work the way I planned. So I had to miss in August practice to retake that stupid test. Fun times.
So I have the Titans above the Giants and Jets in terms of scoring offensive points this year. I like what they've put around Cam Ward, and I do think that Dayball is going to be one of those guys when we look back, that excellent coordinator, bad head coach.
Yeah, that would be the argument. But man, he was running the offense there, like for the heavy majority.
But running the offense while you're the head coach isn't always something that certain guys can handle doing both jobs. Some guys need to be able to be focused on the offense. Here are the X's and O's. Here's what we're going to implement. Let someone else coach the personalities, because he clearly couldn't coach the personalities.
I get that, but I just have a hard time giving Dable all that. I think it was Josh Allen ascending and having Stephon Diggs, like prime Stephon Diggs, to get the football too. Brian Dable's offenses is just like he's pushing the easy button where it's just like, I'm going to have my quarterback run a lot. That's what happened in the good Daniel Jones year. Josh Allen obviously done that. And then last year, Jackson Dart, like they'd be down 2 touchdowns and he's still calling freaking quarterback power into the teeth of the defense. So yeah, guess what? Quarterback runs are very, very efficient. We see it because you have the extra blocker and all of a sudden you're, pretty much equal with the defense, as opposed to if your quarterback's doing nothing there. But there's a reason why you don't do it a ton. Quarterback goes down, your offense is screwed. So I don't completely trust Dable. Can't be worse than, the Callahan experience last year. So it should be some level of improvement. Love Carnell Tate. Still going to be a 21-year-old receiver in the NFL. I don't really care about Wan'Dale Robinson. So I got the Giants and Titans right next to each other. If Cam Ward's the man, they'll be higher.
You see, Wan'Dale Robinson, I think, is a nice upgrade here because they were running out like Kinsey last year in that spot.
I'll just say, man, I watched Wan'Dale Robinson in 2024 and I wanted to freaking cut my eyeballs out of my head. Like it was just gross. It was like every single reception was like, let's pretend it'd be like 3rd and 10. They run like a 4-yard route. And it was just the most boring, like setting records for like the least efficient player with all these targets. Last year, he did better, but so many times, man, I was just like, I was watching a big Wan'Dale play and my impression was, what a freaking play by, Jackson Dart to avoid that sack and get out the pocket and get to Wan'Dale. I've tried to work on giving credit to the receiver for also participating in the scramble drill, getting open and everything. But, all right, you were saying before, like ranking the number 2 wide receivers in the NFL. Like, I don't know if Wan'Dale Robinson is actually any better than Jaylen Coker.
No, but isn't he like when you call him the number 3 here? Because Ridley's still there.
Yeah. All right. You got me with Ridley. I certainly drafted that dude
so if you have Tate and Ridley, and then Wan'Dale is really just your safety blanket outlet guy, a guy that needs to get you 5 yards and maybe make a guy miss because he's still pretty speedy at that I think that's a better role. They're not paying him like that. They're paying him like he's really good and probably a lot better than he is. But now that he's on the team, that doesn't matter anymore. Like, what is his role on this team? Chain mover type guy, 3rd option. That makes more sense for him in my mind.
Hey, it's a hell of a lot better than Alec Manor and NFL all-purpose leader Chimere DK last year. So they're moving in the right direction.
Hey, Ao Manor, Canadian. Watch out for that guy.
Hey.
So bottom 2, I had the Browns and Dolphins.
I got Dolphins 30th, Cardinals 31st, Browns 32nd. Cardinals, probably a bad rank by me. I know what you're going to say. They got the weapons. Adding Jeremiah Love, McBride, maybe Marv could be something, Michael Wilson. So bump the Cardinals up. They should be in my... At least they have a stud or 2 range with like the Giants and the Jets and stuff like that. So I think you got it. I think it's Dolphins.
Their offense is what, like their skill position is what the Jets aspire to be, it feels like.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Dolphins versus Browns. I like the Browns weapons a little bit more. KC Boston. Judy had 1,200 yards a year ago, guys. It happened.
Your boy,
Harold
Jerry
Fandon.
Jeudy?
My boy, Jerry Jeudy. I got his sticker on the back of my phone. to remind myself when I wake up every day how often I'm drafting Jerry Jeudy. It's not helping, man. I keep doing it anyway, which is dumb. But Dolphins, sickest wide receiver room in the league. Maybe they could trade for Jerry Jeudy. Not so sure that would help a ton, but they could use someone else. Browns, I do like Top Monken. You know, we've seen him do some good things.
Do they have a quarterback who can complete a 12-yard pass?
Don't think so. That's kind
tough.
of the.
They should have taken the gambling guy.
Maybe they still could get Sorsby out there. So
at least, maybe you just be like, here's the deal. You have to come play for us, but part of your you have to bet half your contract on the team total over for the Browns and see how you do then.
The first contract of its nature ever seen in NFL history. So
yeah, like that man. The Browns contract they signed. What's this guy's name?
Brandon Sorsby.
Yeah, Gambler here. So Gambler is his contract is like underwritten by Underdog. So if like you don't hit the overs on your props, you don't get paid, pal.
He seems like a guy whose name should eventually be on the back of that, Browns jersey that starts with Tim Couch and just has everyone going on there. So they're saying Watson's healthier. I don't know how you're healthier, 2 years older, coming off not one, but two Achilles tears. Remember, he re-aggravated it and retore it as he was going through. But yeah, Browns 32. I feel fine with that.
Yeah, well, you got Malik Willis. He's offense in a can, so he's going to account for like 200 points there. A little bit of Malik Washington, some Tutu Atwell. What the hell we got? Jalen Tolbert. Like, let's go.
Greg Dulcich.
Oh my God, is Greg Dulcich on this team? Oh yeah, he's their starting tight end. Good Lord, is this bad? Why did they keep A-Chain?
I mean, he's a baller, no doubt. But
yeah, but why you're not gonna be any good. What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like the Seahawks, maybe some of those other teams. I don't know if they could have gotten a first for him, but definitely, another day 2 pick at least or something like that. So yeah, by the time, you're ready to compete, who even knows if, H.N. is still going to be the same guy. But that's the only, like when we were talking before about running back, wide receiver, tight end rankings, like the only argument I think for the Dolphins, like over the Commanders or the Giants, some of these teams would be H.N. But then it's like, well, I'm going to give the nod to the number 1 wide receiver over the running back.
Especially we saw this with Genty last year. It's not like the offensive line on the Dolphins is any good anyway. That when you don't have, especially without Mike McDaniel there, that he wasn't the best offensive mind. He wasn't the greatest coach, but he was good at scheming H.N. open and making sure that he got his touches in space with a full head of steam. I don't think that's going to happen this year.
No, I don't think so either. I don't know if I've drafted H.N. like so far in all these best ball drafts. Like just with where he's going, it's like this offense is probably going to be one of the worst in the league. And that's why doing this study can be good, man, because it's June. It's when we're all optimistic. But at the end of the day, it's like you try to talk yourself into, say, the Titans. And it's like, well, where would I actually rank them? 29th.
Yeah, Titans, Raiders, Jets, Giants, they're all part of the same tier. So that's what we're doing for predicting who's going to have the best and worst offenses. Ian, where can everyone find you?
Fantasy Life, Twitter, just chilling overall. Hope everyone's enjoying the summer. But yeah, man, good to be here as always, Pat.
Yeah, Jake will eventually return when he gets back from his car loop of like the Midwest or whatever he's been doing for the past 3 weeks. But Jake will return with Ian and I to talk through more of the offseason. Once we get some more news, we got the rankings to go through, make those up as we go along, and those will be fun shows. That's all coming soon, but we want to make sure that we're talking football every week on Mayo Media Network from now until the end of Super Bowl. We're going to go to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 6 shows a week. So stay tuned. If you're new here, please smash the like on the way out. All right? I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!